media, sharing what you've learned. And it's really amazing, right? 5-day crypto bootcamp. We have gone through 3 days already, and wow, we're past the halfway point now. We have 2 more days to go. We've been going through this journey, explaining what digital currencies are, where you can get them, how you can keep them safe, the tools that we use in this space. And yesterday, we spent time talking about something important, but I'll get to that when we're going through the recap. Today, we're going to look at optimizing resources. And you can tell the 2 resources I'm referring to. It's time and money, right? No one on the call has an unlimited supply of time and money. So if you're thinking about starting your journey in digital currencies, you do need to understand the best way to optimize the resources that you have. Okay, now, why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this because this is information that you generally won't find everywhere. All you keep hearing is people tell you, buy this coin, buy that coin. But nobody will really ask you, well, how much time do you really have, to dedicate to this? And how much money do you have available to allocate to this? Because it's based on the answers you give to that we can design a plan, a customized plan for you to, follow a journey in cryptocurrencies. So you don't just look at what someone else is doing and you do the same thing, right? Whereas you don't know how much time the person has or how much money the person is working with. So that's what we're going to look at today, how you can make the best use of the time and the money that you have. All right, let's get right into it. This is going to be the agenda for today. It's pretty packed, so we're going to get right to it so that we can cover a lot of material. And I suspect there might be, a few questions by the time we get right into it. So just as we say, keep your questions until the end. We'll have, a couple of minutes at the end of this where we will address the questions. Okay, so let's go ahead and kick this off. So remember, when you saw the flyer for this, I always start with this slide because it helps give a reference for us to know where we're starting from and where we're going. So we talked about you starting your cryptocurrency journey, and we're using the letters of the word start to help us navigate these 5 days crypto bootcamp. So we started with talking about security. We introduced digital assets, what they are and how you can keep them safe, because that is more important than understanding how to buy Bitcoin or sell it. Okay, you need to understand how to keep your digital assets safe. Some of you do not know, but in 2021, last year, over $2 billion worth of cryptocurrency was stolen. Okay, so people lose money, more money every year in cryptocurrencies because of poor security practices and not because they bought a project that the price fell. So that's something you need to think about. Okay, you need to really keep in mind all the things we said about keeping your cryptocurrency safe, right? Security. Then we moved on to the tools that we use. So we talked about centralized exchanges, how you can use your real world money to buy cryptocurrency. And after you've done that, you generally need to move that money from a centralized exchange into something called a decentralized exchange wallet, so that you can interact with different websites that enable you profit from cryptocurrencies. And guess what? We showed a few of those websites yesterday when we were talking about the value of access to education, mentorship, and proven strategies. This is where we are. And like I did in the intro, we're going to be talking about your resources. And it's 2 things really: how much time you have and how much money. And I think you'll find today's class really interesting. But before we dive into what we have today, let's do a quick recap of what we learned yesterday. There's 2 main things that we did. First, we talked about the importance of having access to quality education, the right mentorship, and having strategies. And I differentiated for you between education and knowledge. There are many people out there who know a lot about cryptocurrencies. In fact, if they sit down with you, they can tell you the history of blockchain, the people who had an initial meeting and came up with the idea. They can go into the details and tell you, oh, wow, this is how distributed ledgers work. And, they can throw a lot of jargon out there. When you ask them, sorry, how much money have you made from, from this cryptocurrency? The answer is zero, right? So they know a lot, but they've done nothing. What you need here is education, not just knowledge. You need to know how to organize knowledge, apply it intelligently, and apply it towards a definite purpose. That's how you know you're educated, right? It's not just because of the terminologies that you can throw around and impress people. I talked about the value of mentorship because this one I can't even overemphasize, right? As I am here working with, talking to you, there are people who are way more experienced than I am that I work with on a daily basis, and that I learn from on a daily basis. Why? They've been in the space longer. They have, the kinds of results I'm looking for. And even though I've seen a lot of success in the last year that I've been involved in cryptocurrencies, I want to do more. Right. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, wow, I am a world's expert on cryptocurrencies. In fact, I don't even believe anybody can claim expertise in cryptocurrencies. It's such a new field, right? And, a lot of people are creating new paths, new areas. So we're really all learning on the journey together. So don't be ashamed to reach out to somebody and say, I need help. Okay. Can you help me on this journey? You can learn this on your own, through trial and error, but you'll be repeating mistakes that people have already done. So there's no need to do that. Education and mentorship won't count for anything if you don't have the right strategies to deploy. And speaking of strategies, we used crypto, right? And we started this yesterday. We started explaining the different areas in cryptocurrencies and how you can earn. We talked about the conventional way, which is buying and holding. We talked about staking rewards. So you acquire a cryptocurrency and you deposit it in specific websites. And you're doing that because you want to get interest or dividends, if you will, from depositing your cryptocurrencies in those different websites. And then we talked about yield farming, where you're depositing two different cryptocurrencies in something called a liquidity pool, and you're earning interest by doing that. If any of this is confusing, you do have the first 3 videos on the website, on the YouTube rather, where you can go back, watch, just take notes. If you do have any questions, you know how to reach out, to get me. Right, we didn't complete this yesterday, so we stopped this conversation after the first 3 when we were talking about the different streams of income. So we've looked at these first 3. Today, we are going to kick it off with the last 3, and then we'll go on and talk about what you can do with the resources you have, because that's a very popular question I get. Well, how much money can I deploy in this space? Or how long is it going to take me to become successful? Or how long will it take before I start making profit? All those nice questions that people ask. So we'll deal with all of that today as best as we can. But for now, if you're ready for us to talk about the metaverse and NFTs, please put a 4 in the chat, and then let's see. let's kick this off. Fantastic. All right. Okay. So today we're going to be doing a lot of showing, right? And a lot less telling, because I think if you do see how things work, it will help you appreciate what is possible. Who on this chat has not heard anything about either the metaverse or NFTs, right? Please put a 5 on the chat. You've never heard the word metaverse before. You've never heard the term NFT. Please put a 5 on the chat so that we can. Okay. All right. So thank you for that. Just need to know. Okay, so just one person. So everyone else, you've heard. I'm not saying you can explain it. I'm just saying you've heard about the metaverse, even if it's just your friend, you know, that that mentioned it in passing. You don't need to know what it is. Just need to be sure that you know how I present the material to you. Okay, seems like pretty much everyone has heard about it, but for those of you who haven't heard, I'll go ahead and I'll do a brief explanation, and then I will show you what these things are. Okay. I'm not surprised many people on this call have heard about, you know, the metaverse and NFTs. Okay? In fact, for some of you, this may be the reason why you want to get started in crypto, because you've maybe heard or seen online that you know, teenagers, young people, you know, are making a lot of money from this area, right? So this is one of the most exciting aspects of cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency is way more than Bitcoin, Ethereum. There is a lot more that's happening in this space, right? And not many people can confidently or comfortably explain to you how they are, how they work, what they are, how they work, and how you can make money from it. Because remember, for everyone here, I assume no one here wants to be a professor of computer science, right? What you're here to do is to learn how you can profit from these things. Okay, so I'm going to keep the focus on how you can profit from these different areas. These three areas that you see here, they are all interconnected. Okay, so I have play to earn, I have the metaverse, and I have NFTs. They are all interconnected, but I'm going to take the time to explain what these things are. Okay, so what is play to earn? Okay, play to earn is essentially, we're referring to games that you can play. So these are games, you can go online, play the games, and because you're playing the games, you can earn money. Yes. So if you think back to how, I mean, previously, for how games worked in the past, for those of you who are here who are gamers, right? And you know, maybe you played games, or you still play today. You still have consoles like PlayStation, the Xbox. You know, back in the day, we used to have these small handheld devices that we used to use for playing games, right? What's different between that one and this one? Well, that one, you typically will pay money to play the game. But here, because you're playing the game, you're earning money, right? So you can imagine just sitting down in your house, you're connected to the internet, and then you go to a website and you're playing a game, right? And you know, if you're like me and you have young children, right, and they come in and they're like, Daddy, what's going on? I mean, why are you playing my game? As my daughter will ask me, why are you playing what I should be playing? So it's funny, right? But seriously, there are many websites out there that allow you to play, complete certain activities or tasks, and because you've completed those things, you can earn cryptocurrency as a reward. So you know what? Let's get right into the showing aspect of it. But before we do that, let me just combine these two together so that when I'm showing you the example, I can go back and forth. So that's really it about play to earn. Play to earn refers to any game, typically online, that you can play, complete certain activities, and because you've completed those activities, you can earn cryptocurrency as a reward for playing the game. So that's the first thing you need to know about play to earn. Now, before we talk about the metaverse, we'll come back to the metaverse, but let's even talk about NFTs. So NFTs stand for non-fungible tokens. What on earth does that mean, right? What is a non-fungible token? All right, so this is the simplest way I can explain it, okay? Let's say you have a 1,000 naira note, okay? And I have a 1,000 naira note, okay? If you give me the 1,000 naira note that you have, and I give you the one that I have, there's no loss of value. It's the same. I'm assuming both notes are genuine. There's no counterfeit notes. So if I give you 1,000 naira and you give me back your own 1,000 naira notes, Okay, there's no difference. There's no loss in value. Okay, I can take that 1,000 naira note that I got from you, go and spend it, and everything I would be able to buy with the 1,000 naira I had, you would be able to do the same, even though we exchanged 1,000 naira notes. Let me break the example for you down further. Let's say I have 1,000 naira as the single note, 1,000 naira, but then somebody has two 500 naira notes, right? Again, I can give you my 1,000 naira, you can give me the two 500 naira notes that you have, right? There is no loss of value there either, because we have the same value. You know, we've exchanged value, it's the same thing. So what that explanation is trying to drive home is that currency notes are fungible, meaning they are interchangeable without loss of value. Okay, I can exchange one for another. Obviously, I'm not going to give you 500 naira for 1,000 naira. I'm giving you two 500 naira notes. So you've not lost any value by exchanging. And in fact, this is something that we do all the time. Sometimes you have a high denomination and you want to break it down into a smaller denomination, and you just go around asking, hey, I have this, you know, can you break this down for me? You know, because you want to, you prefer the smaller denomination. So we do it all the time, right? We recognize that currency notes are fungible, okay? However, non-fungible tokens refer to cryptocurrencies that are unique. So each cryptocurrency that is a non-fungible token is unique. You can't exchange it for another non-fungible token because two of them are unique. So they have attributes that differentiate one from the other. In fact, the example we used with currency notes, we can also use with cryptocurrency. If you have one Bitcoin, I have one Bitcoin. If we exchange, there's no loss of value. But if you have one NFT and I have one NFT, we can't exchange, okay? Because the value of the NFT you have is definitely going to be different from the value that I have. And the way people are able to show that there is a difference is through something called attributes or characteristics. So your NFT will have certain qualities that mine does not have. Mine will have certain qualities that yours does not have, okay? So that's what a non-fungible token is in the simplest way you can describe it, okay? Now, these things have become very popular in the last year or so for a number of reasons. One, they've been launched with a limited quantity. So let me just make a point to you right now. You know, there are certain cars that when they are released by the manufacturer, they'll tell you this is a limited edition. Once you hear something is a limited edition, psychologically in your mind, you're already thinking, okay, this thing is going to be more expensive than similar cars that look like it, okay? So NFTs tend to have a high perceived value because they are limited in number, that's one. Then two, no two NFTs are the same. Okay, so if you have one, I have one, they are going to be different. Even if we bought them on the same website, right? They are going to be different. Now, the popular thing you see when you're looking at NFTs is that and I'll show you a few examples, you know, these things tend to look like cartoons, right? And it's almost like you don't understand how are these things selling for so much. But you know, let's take a pause here and let me show you an example of a play to earn application and an example of NFTs, so that you start to wrap your head around these things, you know, because as I show you, things will make more sense. All right. So give me a minute. Let me pull this over here. Fantastic. All right. I'm going to need something else. Okay. So what you're looking at is a website called DeFi Kingdoms. Okay. And you can immediately see the two different elements that we just talked about. Okay, for those of you who might be interested in this, I've put the link in the chat. Okay, so you immediately see the two different elements that we are talking about. Give me a minute. Let me. Good. All right. So remember, we talked about play to earn, and we talked about NFTs. And you can see both of them are used in the intro to this website. So this website is a game. It's primarily a game. But beyond that, it also uses NFTs as part of the game to get certain things done. All right. So you would say start playing. And I know we've not really talked about how you connect your MetaMask wallet to this site, but just bear with me. Just go with the flow for now, and I will give me a minute. I'm just trying to set up my MetaMask here. All right, I think everything should be fine. So let me reload so that. Come on. What do you mean? Refresh this page once you are done. Give me a minute, reload this. Right, so remember, we're going to use this to show you how play to earn works and how NFTs work. Okay, so let me just check if you can see my screen. Could you put a 2 in the chat? You should basically see what looks like a game environment. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so this is DeFi Kingdoms, right? And there's a number of things, that you can do here. But remember, I said this is primarily a game. Okay, now let me show you some of the things that are possible on this website. Remember, there's two things that we're going to look at. We're going to look at play to earn, and we're going to look at NFTs, right? Let me start with the NFT side, so that I think that might be easier to use this to explain. So remember, this is being recorded. So if you don't catch anything, just go ahead and watch the recording and you'll get it. I'm going to click on something called a tavern, and I'm going to look for no, I'm looking for a catalog by heroes. Let me even see this one. I don't know if it's available. Let me just use this one. Okay, 1205. Apply. Okay, they're not selling that hero today. Let me go back. Right, okay, so let's use professions and then I'll come back to the NFTs. Right, so here, this is where you can perform certain activities in the game. So imagine these different characters that you see here. These are examples of NFTs, believe it or not. Yes, I know you might be looking at this and you'll be like, my 4-year-old can probably draw this thing, but do not disrespect these characters, okay? They are quite expensive. So you can see here, right, that there are different professions. There's a gardener, there's somebody called the forager, there's someone called the miner, right? And there's a fisher. Now, remember, if you were in class yesterday, I told you that I would show you an example where you can catch fish online and you will get money, right? This is the site I was referring to. So just by clicking on this fisher here, they'll tell you to start a quest. Now, for you to perform this quest, you need an NFT. I currently do not have an NFT on this side, but just to show you how simple this thing is, just by clicking on starting a quest, you would see that you would deploy your NFT and you'll see what this character is doing. Is basically fishing. Okay, it's digital fish. So once you're using your NFT here, you can catch digital fish, and that digital fish that you're catching is actually a cryptocurrency that you can sell for real world money, right? So if that doesn't sound ridiculous, I mean, I mean, it just shows you what's possible in this space. But I really want to show you what these funny looking characters look like, so that you will maybe start to respect them a bit more. And I hope I can just do the navigation to get there. I think it's the tavern, professions. Okay, let's go to the marketplace. No, it's the tavern. It is definitely the tavern where you can. Absolutely. Good. Hero catalog 1205. Fantastic. All right. So this particular strange looking creature that you look at here is an example of one of the NFTs that you can buy on this website. Okay, so you're looking at it and you're like, yeah, well, yeah, what is this? Okay, so just hang on a minute, and let me show you something that might really surprise you. Okay, if you scroll down to the bottom right, you will see the transactions that have happened since this NFT was created back in November last year. You can see that on the 5th of November, right, this person bought this NFT from this person for 13,000 jewel in November. Okay, now we learned how to use CoinGecko, right, on day 1 and day 2. So let's just look at what the price of 1 jewel is. Okay. Okay, so the price of 1 jewel currently is $9.43. Back in November, if you scroll down, let's just look at the chart. Back in November, so this was what, November 5th. So just stay with me as I look for the price. Back in November, 1 jewel was about $3.79. Okay, so now let's come back to the site. So for this thing that you can probably draw with your eyes closed, a human being on the planet spent 13,000 times 3, more than $40,000 to buy this thing that you're looking at. Okay, that's NFTs for you. All right. Okay, but stay with me here, where we've not completed the story. That was on the 5th of November 2021. Just 10 days later, on the 15th of November 2021, this person bought the NFT from this person. So you can see buyer and seller. This person bought the NFT for this person for 30,000 jewel. Okay, this is 15th of November. So even if the price stayed the same, right, and it stayed at $3, this person spent $100,000 buying this thing. So obviously the initial person who bought it by this time has made all his money back. So I picked this NFT as an example because I want to show you both sides, because generally when you go online, you don't hear both sides of the story. You only hear one side. Okay, that people made millions from NFT. Don Jazzy sold music, he made millions from NFT. Okay, that's good. But listen to both sides of the story so that you understand what you're doing. Okay, so that was on the 15th of November. This person spent $100,000 buying this NFT from this other individual. On the 20th of December 2021, another person bought this NFT from this one for 13,000 jewel. Okay, now 20th December, let's go back and see what the price was at that time. So price had gone up to about $12 from the $3 range it was in November. So this person probably, recovered his investment just about. And I'm pretty sure I know why the person sold it at that price. He probably saw the price falling or and then just wanted to cash out. Okay, but he sold this NFT at this price. Now, on the 5th, okay, no, this is the initial, okay, no, this is the initial transaction that we saw. This is still 2021. But basically, I just wanted to show you the way transactions have happened, right, over time with this NFT. Now you come back and you look at this and you're like, you don't understand. How is this thing commanding so much value in the marketplace? Okay. Remember how I told you that no two NFTs are the same and that one is different from the other? The way you differentiate one NFT in this particular example, right, is using these characteristics that you see on the left here. So let me just close this so that we can. So you can see there's a bunch of characteristics on the left. You don't need to know the different things because for every NFT, there's a different way that they define the attributes, okay? But what you just need to know is that you can create digital versions of artwork or models, assign them unique attributes and sell them as NFTs. Now, does that mean that you can look at your children's storybooks, draw something, go online, list it there as an NFT, close your eyes and wake up tomorrow and then somebody is knocking on your door to give you hundreds of thousands of dollars? That is generally not going to happen, okay? The real reason why NFTs in this particular application are very expensive is you use these NFTs in the game, okay? And remember, by performing certain activities in the game, you're earning cryptocurrency, okay? So that's why these ones are particularly valuable here. And they are really only useful in this game. I mean, if you take it outside the game, this NFT is not useful, okay? So just be aware that when you're researching NFTs, you need to ask yourself, what is this thing used for? Okay, you don't just go buying something or selling something because you think it's a digital artwork. It's similar to all the other ones out there, and then therefore I will make a lot of money. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so I've just showed you using one game experience, right? What play to earn is and what NFTs look like. Let me show you another example of NFTs or a website where you can look at NFTs, and this is called OpenSea. So some of you may know about this website. This website basically is a place for you to list NFTs that you want to sell or buy NFTs from other people. Okay, so again, I'm just going to show you what these things look like so that you'll gain an appreciation for how explosive this section of cryptocurrency is. Okay, so if you come to stats and rankings on this site, you will see a list of different NFTs. Generally, what I like to do is to sort by floor price. So let me do that and sort by floor price in descending order. Now, what does floor price mean? Floor price is the cheapest price that you can get for a particular type of NFT. So yes, there's nothing wrong with your eyesight. For this NFT this NFT collection called the Bored Ape Yacht Club, the cheapest you can buy one today is 91 ETH. Okay, and you know that ETH is currently somewhere around $3,000. Okay, so this is the cheapest one you can buy is around 300,000 US dollars a day. All right. So that's what this floor price refers to. Obviously, many of us are priced out of purchasing this kind of NFT. But that's the cheapest you can buy one. I mean, if you clicked on it, you would see the different types of NFTs that you have in that collection, right? So yes, some of you might actually lose it at this point, and you're like, sorry, what are you buying for $300,000? Yeah, it's actually one of these things, you know. So they are apes, they look bored, they just have slight differences. So no two apes are the same. But yes, there are several human beings who have spent $300,000, even up to $1 million US buying just one of these things. Now, is it because this thing is an ape that it is valuable? Absolutely not. This particular NFT, right, depending on the one you have, gives you access to exclusive parties or VIP parties. So that's why it is popular with a lot of celebrities. Okay. So this is not something, you know, a normal person will just show up and buy. All right. So that's how NFTs look. No two NFTs are the same. So you need to understand why the NFT is useful, why it is commanding a lot of money before you buy it. Now, let me just go ahead and tell you that 90% of the NFTs that currently exist do not have any long-term value, right? So the way we talked about doing research and knowing which cryptocurrency to buy, you need to be able to do that research to know which NFT will have potential value in the long term before you go ahead and acquire it. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. If that all made sense to you, please put a 7 on the chat. And don't worry, if you do have questions, keep the questions till the end. We can then spend that time going into a bit more detail and understanding how these things work. Okay, so that's it about play to earn and about NFTs, right? The other thing I wanted to show you is let's get into the metaverse. So with these first two, we've covered play to earn and NFTs. With the last two, we'll talk about the metaverse. Now, what's the metaverse? The simplest way I can explain it to you is right now we're on a Zoom call, and when you look at, you know, the participants, okay, in my own case, I have my video turned on so you can see, you know, me, right? A video, you can see my video, you can see me as I'm making demonstrations and all that. The metaverse is a digital location where we can all agree to meet. Okay, so we could have had this meeting in the metaverse. Okay, it's just a digital location where, you know, people like to go and spend time and hang out, you know, especially if you just want to relax. Right now, the main use case for the metaverse is for entertainment or recreation. Those are the purposes, the main purposes right now in the metaverse. But as companies continue to spend more money on metaverses, the use case for the metaverse is going to increase even more. Okay, so let me show you one example of what a metaverse looks like, because remember, this is education, and you do need to come away from here understanding exactly how these things work. So this is one of several. Just be aware that there are several metaverses today. So currently, all these companies are in a race to create the one that more users will adopt going forward. All right, so let's start exploring. This one is going to require me to connect my wallet. I'll go ahead and do that. I just hope that it doesn't crash my computer. All right, so continue as guests. Give this a minute or two. It's going to load, and then you'll see what all the hype is about. You may not get it at the first time, but after I spend 1 or 2 minutes doing a demo for you, I'll talk about potential applications, and then that will start opening your mind as to what's possible in the metaverse. So remember that there are different metaverses. It's not just one that is out there. Decentraland is just one of the many metaverses that are out there. Now, while this thing is loading, let's just go ahead and then talk about other things that you can do with metaverses. How else you can make money? Well, you know how you can make money from play to earn. You play the game, you earn money. Okay. You know how you can make money from NFTs. You can buy them, you know, and sell them if the price goes up, right? That's how you make money. If you're unfortunate and you buy it when the price is high, and then you sell it when the price is even lower, right? Then you lose money. With NFTs, with the metaverse, you can buy virtual land. So if you're struggling to buy land in Lekki or some other parts of Lagos or anywhere else in the world, you can use the metaverse. Okay, and that music you hear in the background is the metaverse that's coming up. Go ahead. You know what? Let me just randomize. I don't want to waste time here. Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. I agree. Okay, just give this a minute. It's going to download the different elements that we need. And I will show you how this all works real quick. Okay. Now, just be aware before the screen comes up that there are different things that you can do here. I was talking about you buying virtual land in the metaverse, right? So you might be wondering who is going to use virtual land. Just give it a minute. Once this thing comes up, you'll see. Okay. Right, so this is the metaverse, right? So you can see this character right here is me, right, in the metaverse. So I can basically move it around. I can move this thing around and look at different things. Now, I want to show you something, right? What do you see in front of me? You have billboards there, right? So even though you were wondering why would somebody buy like land in the metaverse, you buy land in the metaverse so that you can put billboards there and advertise things. Oh, good. Now you can see that as I'm here, other people that I have no idea who they are also coming into the metaverse, and people are moving around and figuring out places that they can go. And at the top left of the screen, there is a map that you can use to navigate the different things that are happening on the metaverse. So I can actually go to one of these characters, talk to them, interact with them. Or if we all agree to meet somewhere, we could have had today's class somewhere in the metaverse. So you might just be chilling out somewhere in the beach, as we're all having the class. Okay. So I'm not going to waste too much time on this. Okay, now my mouse has gone missing. Let me just take this out of here before we turn this thing into a metaverse class and we forget that we're trying to learn here. All right, so we talked about buying and selling virtual land, and I've shown you one example, right? Why you might want to buy land in the metaverse. You can buy land so that you can put up a billboard and advertise things that you sell in the real world. Okay. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, if you notice, a lot of popular musicians are now holding concerts in the metaverse, right? So the last time I believe it was Ariana Grande, sometime last year, who held a concert in the metaverse, and she had 12 million people in attendance. Okay. So why is that appealing? With all the COVID restrictions, people can't really travel the way they can, right? But even if they could travel, there is no physical location that can hold 12 million people at the same time. There is no physical location. But if you can do that in the metaverse, there is no social distancing, there's no COVID-19 in the metaverse, there's no sanitizer, so you're fine, right? Everybody can crowd in there and have a nice time in the metaverse. So imagine if 12 million people are going for a concert and you owned the land next to the venue where they are doing the concert. Guess what? You can put up a billboard just outside that, location, and people who are walking past will see what you're selling and they will reach out to you and buy, right? So that's one use case for the metaverse, how you can make money, okay? The other thing you can do is, if you're like, I'm not interested in going into the metaverse, I'm just interested in metaverse currencies. You can also invest in metaverse currencies because they're also cryptocurrencies. Now, in the metaverse, at least in the central land that I just showed you, there is a casino. So you can go there and play games. Now, guess what? For you to be able to play games in the casino, in the metaverse, you need to spend a currency. Now, that currency that I showed you is Decentraland or Mana. So let me just type it here so that you will see. So you see it right. So this currency, this is the cryptocurrency or one of the cryptocurrencies that you will use in that metaverse that I showed. Okay, this is how you'll be able to play games in the casino or, you know, just complete some other activities that you have available in the metaverse. So those are the four things or four examples I wanted to talk to you about in this whole area of play to earn, metaverse, NFTs. Guess what? If there's more interest in this area, you know, just send me like a note or a message on Instagram, and then we can do, you know, something similar to this, a 5-day class that is just focused on metaverse, on NFTs, so that you understand how to, you know, participate in these things and profit from them. But, you know, we are time constrained here today. So this is really just an overview to show you what is possible, that you don't need to get involved in cryptocurrencies because of Bitcoin or Ethereum. There's a whole other world out there that you can use to profit, right? So that's it with play to earn, metaverse, and NFTs. Now, let me deal with this question that's on the chat. Someone is asking if we need to buy NFTs to play games. It depends on the game, right? For the first example I showed you, you need to buy an NFT to play the game, right? Because it is the NFT that is the character in the game. In Decentraland, your character is not an NFT. It's just something that you create. I mean, some of you would have seen as I just put in an email address and they created a character. So that character is not an NFT in Decentraland. But in the first example, DeFi Kingdoms, absolutely, you need to buy an NFT to play the game. However, just note that DeFi Kingdoms is more than just a game, right? You can also use DeFi Kingdoms to exchange one cryptocurrency for another. So you can use it without playing the game. You don't have to buy an NFT to use DeFi Kingdoms. There's other things that you can do there. All right, enough said about this area. Let's move on to trading. Okay, because this is another way that you can earn from cryptocurrencies. Now, there's two ways that you can trade. Okay, and trading really is exchanging one cryptocurrency for another or profiting off the price fluctuation of a particular cryptocurrency. There's two ways you can trade. Okay, you can exchange one cryptocurrency for another in something like Binance. Okay, remember we talked about you being able to buy Bitcoin, for instance. And if the price goes up, you can sell that Bitcoin into a stable coin. We talked about stable coins on day one. And that way preserve your money. So let me just explain the general principle behind trading, what it works, how it works, and how you can basically compound your money over time. So I'm using a simple chart here, right? Just to explain how trading works. Now, you can assume that this chart is similar to a price chart of Bitcoin, right? So, I mean, you have Bitcoin going up, coming down, going up, coming down, pretty much, okay? And that's similar to what you see on this chart. But I've kept this simple so that we can explain what is going on. Trading is about buying low and selling high, okay? But as simple as what I have just said is, it is very difficult to do it in practice if you do not have the right skill, okay? So let me show you in an ideal state what should happen when you are trading cryptocurrencies, and how you should use this to profit or compound over time. Okay, so I've used an example of a fictitious cryptocurrency that is called Believe. Okay, as of today, I don't know any cryptocurrency that is called this name, but I'm using a fictitious cryptocurrency so that we can illustrate the point. Okay, and there are two price levels of interest. So at this point, one Believe cryptocurrency is $1,000, and at this point, it is $2,000. Okay, so what's happening here? At this point, point A, I have $1,000 and I use all my $1,000 to buy one coin, one Believe coin. Okay, so I will have one Believe at this point. So Believe is a volatile cryptocurrency. The price goes up from point A to point B at some point in time. And at this point, one coin is $2,000. Now, at this point, I sell the coin that I'm holding and I sell it into dollars. So even though here I'm holding a cryptocurrency, at this point, I'm holding dollars. Now, how would you do that in real life? In real life, you would sell your cryptocurrency into a stable coin, because remember, they are both cryptocurrencies. But like I explained, for stable coins, especially the ones tied to the US dollar, one stable coin is equivalent to $1. So at this point, you would be selling your cryptocurrency into a stable coin. Now, something happens in the market similar to that chart in Bitcoin, and price falls down to this point. At this point, you're holding dollars, $2,000. But guess what? This is the point where you want to buy more of the cryptocurrency if you believe in it, okay, long term. But because we are holding $2,000, we can now buy two coins here. Because remember, at this level, one coin is $1,000. But now, since price has gone up and I had $2,000 here, I can buy two coins now, right? So now at this point, point C, I'm holding two coins. It so happens that price goes up again to this $2,000 mark. But now, because I'm holding two coins, the value of what I'm holding in dollars is now $4,000. So this is how trading works. And this is how you compound your money over time. Now, notice that the horizontal axis is just time, okay? The difference in time between point A and point B can be a year. It can be 5 years. It can be 6 months. It is very unlikely that it is going to be one day. Okay, so just be aware that this thing takes time in order to develop. Okay, but what's important is that you have the skill to perform the analysis to know at what point you need to buy or sell, because that's the question I expect you to be asking now. Oh, okay, this is too perfect. How do you know that you should be buying at this point? Or how do you know that you should be selling at that point? Okay, there are techniques to analyze charts that give you, a high probability of being correct, okay, about buying and selling at those points. But that's not the subject of this conversation. The point here is that you know that you can make profits from cryptocurrencies, whether their price goes up or down. That's the point. Okay? Getting the skill is something that you're going to apply yourself and learn from someone so that you'll be able to acquire that skill. Okay, now there's two ways you can do this trading. You can do this on Binance, or remember what we said on day 2. You can do this in a brokerage account. So let me just open one and show you one. Remember, for those of you who are asking for examples of broker accounts, this is an example, right? So this broker account is from a company called Kings of Transparency, KOT. And just please be clear, this is a demo account, right? So I'm just using this to illustrate what a broker account looks like. This particular chart you're looking at is a chart of Bitcoin, against the US dollar. And all of these red and greens that you're looking at just shows the fluctuation in price, similar to what you saw on TradingView, okay? We're not doing any trades. I just want to show you what the interface should look like, right? And for this thing, you're generally looking to buy when the thing is low and sell when things are high. Okay, but this is not a trading class. This is just you understanding the possibilities. Okay, All right. So now that we've said that, let's go on to the last way that you can earn from cryptocurrencies. Remember where we started from. We started from, yesterday looking at these first three. We've looked at play to earn, metaverse, and NFTs. We've looked at trading. Let's go on to others and let's see what you can learn or what you can do in this final bucket here. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two examples here. Now, these others, these are like other things you can do that don't really fit into the categories of one of the previous five that we've looked at. And we're running out of time, so I'm really going to show you a lending and borrowing example. Give me a minute and let me pull that up so that we can see. Okay, so this site you're looking at is called geist.finance. I'm going to type this on the chat. And this is a site that helps you lend or borrow. Okay, that's what this site allows you to do. Okay, we're not actually going to do the lending and borrowing. I'm just going to show you how you know that you can lend or borrow on this site. So this site allows you to work with a number of cryptocurrencies that you can see on the left. And then you can see two columns over on the right. There is deposit and there is borrow. Okay. Now, what do these numbers mean? Okay. Phantom is an example of a cryptocurrency, or you know what? Let's use USDT since we've talked about it. So USDT is here. If I deposit USDT on this site, they're going to pay me 3.9% and 2.54% a year. So if you add these two together, that's about 6.4%, just because you've deposited cryptocurrency on this site. Okay? And that's how it works for some of the others. Let's use this stable coin as an example. If I deposit DAI on this site, they'll pay me 1% plus 1.3%. So that's 2.3%. I can also borrow DAI from this site. Now, if I borrow DAI, they will charge me 3.19% per annum to borrow, but they will pay me 6.5% because I am borrowing. So let me say that again, because this tends to be confusing for people when they first hear it. I can deposit DAI on this site and I'll earn 1.1 plus 1.3, that's 2.3. So that's how it works on the deposit side. You add these two numbers together. On the borrow side, you don't add these two numbers together. The number at the top is what you are charged for borrowing. And the number at the bottom is what you are paid for borrowing. So in effect, you are earning money by borrowing from this site. Yes, I know it's difficult to believe, but yes, it happens. Okay, so if we now go back to this upper example with Phantom, okay, if I borrow Phantom from here, they'll charge me 6.9%, but they will pay me 15.7% for borrowing Phantom. Okay, so this site is essentially paying me to borrow. Now, keep in mind that these rates can change at any time. Okay, and this upper number may become higher than the lower number. In fact, let's use this one as an example. You can see that with USDT, if you borrow USDT, they will charge you 8.59%, but they will pay you 8.4%. So you are paying to borrow at this time. Okay, so don't just come here and say, oh, because this upper number is smaller than the lower number, let me go ahead and borrow. It can change. So you need to monitor it over time. And be sure that the upper number is smaller than the lower number. And of course, you're not really coming here to borrow because the upper number is smaller than the lower number. You're coming here to borrow because you believe there is another opportunity where you can deploy the borrowed funds that will earn you way more than any number that you see here. Okay, so that's how you think about lending and borrowing. Yeah, you're not just coming to get this money and go away. All right. Now, something that people tend to do is, for something like Phantom, you can buy Phantom, deposit it here, borrow Phantom, and deposit it again, right? So that way you're earning from the deposit side, you're earning from the borrow side. Okay, that's something called hyper compounding. Again, you need to be very careful with what you're doing, because remember what I said, the numbers here can change at any time. So you don't want to be in that position where the numbers change and then you get liquidated. Now, there are other technicalities or things that you need to be aware of about borrowing, but we don't have the time to go into all of them. The aim here is, with the right education, you will know how to do research and find all these opportunities so that you can combine your strategies together in an intelligent way and make the best of the money you have and the time you have. And speaking of money and time, let's move on to, something that we should be aware of when you're in this space. Now, I started off by saying that nobody has an infinite supply of time and money. Those are the two resources that you need to understand how much of each you have, so that as you consider this journey of, investing in cryptocurrencies or trading cryptocurrencies, you know how you are using your time and money in the best way possible. You're not wasting all your time doing things that, will not earn you a commensurate amount of money. So I put this chart together, just to help you think about how much time you have, how much money is available for you to invest, and just think about where you are in the space. Okay, because that will influence how you deploy your capital. Okay, all right. So what's this chart about? This chart just talks about the main types of participants that you have in cryptocurrencies. Now, I've used some generic terms here. It doesn't mean that students do not have money, and it doesn't mean that speculators have the most money, right? That's not what it means. I've just used generic terms here to represent the amount of risk capital that somebody has. So I'm using a generic term for students, for somebody who has, say, like $100 or less of risk capital. Now, what is risk capital? Risk capital is money that if you wake up tomorrow and it is gone, your life will not change significantly. Okay, it is money you can afford to lose. Please, if you cannot afford to lose money, do not even bring it near this space of cryptocurrencies. This is a big problem that people do not take the time to be honest with themselves about. If you can't afford to lose it, don't bother trading it or investing it. Okay, that's my candid advice to you. Okay, so there's 4 categories here. There is a student who has, up to $100. There's a side hustler who has 100 to 1,000 US dollars. There is a salary earner who owns somewhere between 1,000 and 10,000. And then there is a speculator who is doing this full time and who has the cash flow to invest in this space. I've also shown you the corresponding time frames. It is going to be rare for you to find somebody who has $100 and is willing to wait for 5 years to make profits in this space. That's a very rare individual. Generally the people who have lower amounts of money as risk capital, they have a short time frame in which they are expecting things to work. Now, 6 to 12 months is the shortest time frame I would recommend, right, that you have in your mind if you want this thing to work. If you're coming in here and you're saying, you know what, I'm just going to give it all my time and effort for the next 1 week, it's likely not going to work. So 2 things that you need here. You need risk capital and you need time for this to work for you. Now, does this mean for the next 6 to 12 months, you're going to only focus on this? Absolutely not. Remember, these things are just generic considerations. So you might be in charge of your own business, right? And maybe you've successfully delegated all the activities to people who are working on your behalf. You may have a lot of time on your hands. If you have a lot of time on your hands, you'll be able to spend a lot more time learning this thing quickly. Okay, I did not spend 6 months, right, before this thing became profitable, because I spent a lot of time learning, practicing, implementing what I learned. So it's possible to do this in shorter than 6 months, but have a long-term mindset, at least 6 to 12 months if you're here, right? So that you know how best to position yourself. So remember these categories and remember the time frame, because I'll go on to the final slide and I'll give you a suggestion about how I believe you should best deploy your risk capital, depending on which category you believe you fall into. Remember, these titles are just generic titles, right? It doesn't mean that every salary earner earns more than people who have side hustles. That's not what this is about. These are just generic titles, just to help you think. All right, so let's come to this slide, right? And this is a suggestion that I am putting out there for how you should think about deploying the capital that you have in this space. So if you want to take a screenshot, this guide has worked very well for me. This thing comes from my own experience in the space, having invested in every single one of these aspects of crypto. I know how much is required for it to make sense. Okay, so I've put this guide out there, and it's just a rough guide. So I'm saying if you're here and you really only have like $100 or less, want me to be honest with you, you should be focused on trading, trading using a brokerage account. You should be focused on that, right? Until you're able to build that into something. If you're using $100 and you're buying and holding crypto, you're going to be holding it for a very long time, right? Before this thing makes sense. And if you can't buy and hold, you can't really stake, right? So, and yield farming is not really going to make a lot of sense for you. Play to earn. So why didn't I tick play to earn if you have only $100? Many of the games that you see, even though you earn cryptocurrencies by playing those games, many of them do require you to put down a deposit of some sort for you to play the game. So that's why I didn't tick play to earn, right? But I would say focus on learning the skill of trading. Learn that. Once you've learned that, you've mastered that, you can use the excess capital and deploy it in some of the other areas. If you're somewhere greater than $100 up to $1,000, you have a bit more spaces to play in, right? Now, notice that across all the categories, trading is ticked. So maybe now you understand why trading cryptocurrencies is popular, okay? Because it has a very low barrier of entry, and anybody really can get involved. But if you're dealing with $100 to $1,000, yes, you can now start thinking of buying and holding and doing rewards, but trading should still be your focus. Long story short, as your risk capital increases, you can play in more spaces. Now, for this salary earner, I'm assuming, yes, you're having a regular salary that comes in, but perhaps you don't have all the free time to work. So you can't sit down in your computer all day and be playing games from morning till evening. So that's why play to earn is not ticked for the salary earner. But for the speculator, you have 10K or higher in this space. Yeah, I mean, all the spaces are open to you. You can deploy your capital to all the spaces at once. So this is not something that you would generally see outside, but it helps to answer the question. This is how much I have, right? What can I do in cryptocurrencies? Well, this is a suggestion. Now, please pay attention to the risk disclaimer, right? This is not me saying this is what you must do, because everybody's financial situation is different. Remember, these amounts that I'm talking about here, they represent risk capital, money you can afford to lose. So this is not money for school fees or house rent or utility bills. That's not risk capital. That is capital that you are putting at risk. Okay, there's a difference. But this one is money you can afford to lose and deploy in this space. All right, so that's it really about optimizing resources. And I hope this particular slide is useful to help answer some of those questions, the popular questions about this is how much I have, what can I do, in which space can I play. This is a suggestion that you can use and build your cash flow over time so that you can play in more and more spaces. Now, for somebody who is coming into cryptocurrencies for the first time, you may have risk capital up to a speculator. Does that mean that on day one, you should just say, okay, how many spaces is this? 6. And then let's say you have $12,000. You put $2,000 here, 2,000 here, 2,000 here, and you just do that on your first day. No, you are gambling. Okay. So the fact that you have 12,000 doesn't mean on day one you must spend all the money, right? Take it easy, learn about the individual ways, and you may decide to focus on only one. Who says you cannot just focus on just trading or just NFTs? Who says you can't do that? Of course you can do that. You can focus on one area, learn it, master it before you move to the other. But don't just go, oh, there are 6 ways to earn from cryptocurrencies and you're just randomly throwing money at different things that come up. No, that's not what this is about. This is about you using a structured approach to deploy the funds that you have so that it will make sense for you in the long term. All right, so I'll go ahead and take your questions. Okay, so there's a question in the chat about what about airdrops? Okay, so if we do have some time, I'll go back and talk about airdrops. So airdrops are another popular aspect of cryptocurrencies. I explained a bit yesterday that with airdrops, certain cryptocurrency projects, because you're holding another type of cryptocurrency or because you've met certain conditions, these projects will give you cryptocurrencies for free. Okay, so you can look at websites like airdrops.io and do research there about upcoming airdrops and the requirements you need to meet in order to participate in those airdrops. As a matter of fact, that game that I showed you, DeFi Kingdoms, one of the things they did throughout January was check to see who is eligible for an airdrop that they are going to release sometime before the end of first quarter. So if you had participated in the game or if you were in the ecosystem before January this year, you are in line to receive airdrops. Now, not all airdrops are significant, okay? Like somebody asked the question yesterday about Anchor Protocol when we looked at it. Anchor Protocol pays you weekly airdrops, right? But I think I've been receiving those things for more than 20 weeks. And by the time you add all the money together, it's not up to $20. So the fact that a site says they are paying weekly airdrops doesn't mean that's why you should go there, right? Airdrops are generally a way projects reward loyal customers. Let's just put it that way. So they'll say, hey, you've participated in this project, so you will receive this free cryptocurrency as a reward. But go to airdrops.io, do your research there, and you'll be able to find upcoming airdrops that you can participate in. Okay, question about borrowing. So said in the borrowing platform, you stated that the APY can fluctuate while you're borrowing. Why? That's just the nature of the platform, right? So remember, let me bring this back so that I can show you. So show you again so that you will, let me take this up. Right, so remember, there is a reason why this site is providing incentives to people to borrow certain cryptocurrencies. Okay, so they are doing that because they want people to borrow Phantom. If they've achieved their objectives with people borrowing Phantom, or maybe too many people are borrowing Phantom and they don't want to just give away all their rewards for free, they will by themselves change the APY at any time. So this APY is variable, both the deposit APY and the borrow APY. So it's the sites doing that to achieve their own objectives. You as the end user, you just want to make money. Unfortunately, you are not in control of this APY. But you know that even in the real world, right, your interest rates the rates at which you pay interest on a loan, it varies as well based on certain external factors, right? So this is similar to the real world in that respect. The interest rates also vary. All right, let me go ahead. Okay, so there's a question here about NFTs allow you to demonstrate proof of ownership, but can hackers basically change that such that ownership transfers from one person to another? Okay, so this is a bit more on the advanced advice side of things, but let me just say this. You see, with all cryptocurrencies comes risk, right? We like the blockchain because blockchain does have features that makes it very difficult to counterfeit digital currencies, of which NFTs are an example. Now, notice that I said blockchain makes it very difficult. I didn't say blockchain makes it impossible. Okay, it is possible. You require significant computing resources to be able to overcome that. Now with NFT, as the question is saying, there is additional data that you will need to secure, right? To preserve the ownership quality of any NFT that you own. However, I do think this question is a bit more advanced for this class. So for the person who asked the question, if you can reach out, we can have an in-depth conversation about how you can preserve or secure your NFTs, right? So that it's not vulnerable to theft, or somebody doesn't spoof another person and say I own the NFT. It's a bit more advanced. Okay. All right. What else do we have? Okay, doesn't sound like there's a lot of questions today. I'll give maybe 1 or 2 more minutes for questions, and then we'll call this, we'll wrap this up today, and we'll come back for the final class. Why will one borrow an asset? Is there any use? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let me give you an example. Okay. So we talked about Anchor protocol, right? Okay. So let me give you an example for why somebody would borrow. Okay, remember we've talked about 6 different strategies you can use to profit from cryptocurrency. So give me a minute. I want to pull back Anchor protocol so that I can use that to show you an example. All right, so remember we talked about Anchor protocol yesterday, and what did we say? We said you can deposit a stable coin here and earn 20% a year. All right, so one thing you can do is, if you own DAI, for instance, which is also a stable coin, you can deposit your DAI here. You earn 2% or 2.3% because you deposited it. You can come over to the borrow side and borrow DAI, right? And they will charge you 3.2% for borrowing, but currently they will pay you 6.3%. So they are paying you to borrow DAI. What can you do with that DAI that you've borrowed? You can convert it to UST on Binance and deposit it on Anchor. So you're depositing borrowed funds here, and you're earning 20% here. So you're earning from depositing on Geist, earning from borrowing, and you're earning again, by depositing a different cryptocurrency on here. So that's how you can combine multiple strategies together, and it will make sense. So, that's one reason why you can borrow. Without even going into something that complex, I already explained hyper compounding, right? Which is you deposit DAI, you're earning 2%, you borrow DAI, you're earning 3%, and then you deposit again what you're borrowing. But that one doesn't make sense, right? Because you're only going to earn 2%. Why don't you take what you borrowed and move it to Anchor and go and deposit it there and earn 20%? If you're really aggressive, you can borrow DAI and then use it to buy a volatile cryptocurrency that you think will go up in price. Okay? So that way, as it goes up in price, you're earning even more money, right? And then you can take the profit and come back and pay your loan. So lending and borrowing is a real issue. There's another reason why lending and borrowing exists. Okay. Now, I know in this part of the world, people are not as diligent about when it comes to taxes because the rules are not necessarily very clear. But there's other places like the US where people who are holding Ethereum, right? If they move that Ethereum to a wallet, right, they may have to pay tax. Okay. So what they can eventually end up doing is they can deposit that Ethereum on a site like this, and they'll be earning interest because they deposited. Then they can borrow some other cryptocurrency that they want and go and use it and do something else. So it's also a way to manage tax implications. That's why lending and borrowing also exists. All right. What's the disadvantage of lending and borrowing? Well, if this rate changes significantly against you, you can get liquidated. Okay. So, because remember, you need to pay back that loan at some point. So, yeah. So that's the disadvantage. So you need to monitor. The rates from time to time. Questions: how long will it take to learn trading if you have a regular 9 to 5? So here's what I'll tell you. I'll tell you that if you can commit, a minimum of 5 hours a week, right? You can learn trading. You can learn how trading works in 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. You are not going to master how to trade. There's two different things, right? So if I asked you, how long will it take you to learn how to drive? You're not going to tell me 2 years. Okay. It's going to tell you, you're going to know how to move the car in maybe a few sessions, 3 or 4 sessions. You will know how to move it, how to park it and all that. But your skills get better over time as you keep doing it. So that's the same way with trading. So you will understand the terminology, you will understand how to place a trade, you will understand how to manage risk, but to bring all those things together, right, give yourself a minimum of 6 months to master the skill. All right. So you will understand how to trade in about 3 weeks if you're spending 5 hours a week. And then in about 6 months, you should be able to teach others comfortably how to trade. Okay. So that's from my own experience, from working with me, that's the goal that we will set for you. Obviously, different people have different aptitudes and ability to learn. So you can learn faster than that, all well and good. If you have more time and you practice more, you will learn it faster. That's all it means. Okay. Right. There's a few questions about what's the shortest period for borrowing. Well, it's up to you. You can borrow for a day, you can borrow for a month. You're not just going to borrow for the sake of it. You're borrowing because there's something you want to do with the money that is profitable. Okay. So the time duration for which you borrow is going to really depend on what you're trying to do with the money, or if the rates change significantly against you and it no longer makes sense to borrow, then obviously you have to stop borrowing and you pay back the loan at that point. Okay. Interesting question that has just popped up. What kind of analysis would you do to figure out which coins have long-term value? So remember I said on day 5, we're going to talk about what I call the 5-star model for doing research on cryptocurrency. So just hang in there till tomorrow and I'll explain the things I look for, right? To filter the list of cryptocurrencies that I might buy. So that is how I do research on what to buy, not when to buy. There's a difference between the two. Okay. But you need to know what to buy first before when to buy. Okay, there's a few more questions around trading. What resources can you learn trading from, or generally just to throw some more light on trading? We are out of time, unfortunately. So for the people asking those questions, I'm happy to explain. If you want a one-on-one call, we can have a long conversation about how trading works. I want to keep this educational, and just carry everyone along as much as possible and show you possibilities at this point. And then if you want some more detailed conversations, just reach out and we'll have those. We'll have that conversation and I'll let you know what you need. All right. Hey, thanks everyone for the participation. This class today was really, really interactive, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be here today and to share this with you. See you in class on the final day, where we'll show you how to put all this together and to build a profitable portfolio.